You know that we knock 'em down.
CBT, CBT, CBT.
Yeah, we know we knock 'em down. You know we knock 'em down. 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 Knock 'em down.
Yeah,
Knock 'em down.
yeah,
Knock 'em down.
yeah,
CBT. Knock 'em down.
CBT, CBT.
Oh yeah, you know that we knock 'em down. CBT.
What up, YouTube? It's your boy Big Cool coming to you from Colossal Boxing Talk. And tonight I am about to bring you the latest installment of my Boxing's Duck Duck Goose. And the fighter that I will be talking about tonight is none other than Amir Khan. We all know Amir Khan, Olympic silver medalist, a very good fighter. He's been very solid as a pro. He's fought Marcos Maidana, Paulie Malignaggi, Zab Judah, recently Devin Alexander, Marcos Antonio Barrera, British Prescott, Danny Garcia. The list goes on and on of guys he's faced. We all know the knock on Amir Khan is his chin. You know, he's been knocked out, I want to say, 2 times in his career, and lost the decision to Lamont Peterson, a controversial, one, but nonetheless, he lost that fight. I like Amir Khan as a fighter, I really do, but he is really starting to get on my nerves with how he goes about his business. He's never been one to duck anybody until he felt that a Mayweather fight was imminent. He did everything in his power to, secure himself, set himself up for a Floyd Mayweather fight. And in my opinion, rightfully so, he hasn't really, he hasn't got it, which I am glad to see, because he's continuing to call out Floyd Mayweather for a fight. He also throws Manny Pacquiao's name out there. Those are the 2 biggest draws in boxing right now. He thought that he had a fight with Mayweather pretty much done in a couple years ago, because he was scheduled to face Devin Alexander the previous year in 2013, but backed out of that under the assumption that he had a fight with Floyd Mayweather. But Floyd Mayweather pulled the rug from underneath Amir Khan and chose his bitter rival, Marcos Maidana, who Amir Khan outpointed in a terrific fight back in 2010, I believe. Marcos Maidana at the time was coming off of a very impressive streak. He had just roughed up and beat down the previously unbeaten Adrien the Problem Broner to win the WBA welterweight title. And Mayweather chose him to be a unification bout. Fast forward a year later, Amir Khan finally decides to take on Devin Alexander. I thought a fight would be more competitive than it was, but Amir Khan outclassed Devin Alexander that night. He was simply very impressive. Very impressive. Hand speed was on display. Boxing skills was on display. His foot movement was, on point. He was just pretty much perfect that night. Now, he's scheduled to be back in the ring May 29th on PBC on Spike against none other than Chris Algieri. We all know Algieri's claim to fame. He beat Ruslan Provodnikov after overcoming 2 knockdowns to get a majority decision, I believe. That earned him a shot at Manny Pacquiao, which he was knocked down 6 times en route to a 12-round unanimous decision loss. And nothing against Chris Algieri, who is a terrific fighter. He's just not the guy you would like to see Amir Khan face if he's trying to get a fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr. or Manny Pacquiao. He continues to call out these guys for a fight, but he also continues to not do nothing to earn it. And if he thinks a victory over Chris Algieri, a junior welterweight, is gonna earn him that fight, or either guy, he's sadly mistaken. He obviously should win this fight over Chris Algieri. He's a bigger version of Chris Algieri in my mind. He's faster, he's better boxer, he's taller, longer reach, better footwork, more experience. Don't forget that Chris Algieri was a former professional kickboxer, so he's kind of a late bloomer in the boxing game. So you give him credit for getting to this point of success that he has gotten so far. But nonetheless, Amir Khan should outclass him. The type of guys Amir Khan should be facing are Keith Thurman, Robert Guerrero, Lucas Matisse, Marcos Maidana again in a rematch, maybe a Lamont Peterson rematch. Tim Bradley, guys of that nature, Sean Porter, Kell Brook. And speaking of Kell Brook, that brings me to why Amir Khan is, the subject of today's Boxing Duck Duck Goose video, because he's ducked not only Kell Brook, which is a major duck, he's also, in my mind, ducked Adrien Broner. I know when you hear this, you're going to laugh and say, what? He ducked Adrien Broner? What has Adrien Broner done to deserve a fight with Amir Khan? Well, Adrien Broner has made it clear that he wants to fight nothing but the best. And he's been calling out Amir Khan for a while. They FaceTimed each other. They've been tweeting each other. And Adrien Broner clearly wants that fight. Amir Khan said he was down for that fight. But guess what? He's not fighting Adrien Broner. I don't know all the particulars behind the, in the back, in the business room between Al Heyman, Broner, Khan. But I believe if you want the fight as bad as you say you want to fight, and Adrien Broner has shown a willingness to fight the best and says he wants to fight, keep calling you out, why aren't you fighting? There's no way this fight shouldn't be happening. Whether you think he destroys Adrien Broner is another thing. But Adrien Broner is the type of guy with an impressive victory over him will get you the Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather fight. But no, you choose Algieri. And then you go over to his countrymate, Kell Brook, who is the IBF welterweight champion of the world, who impressively defeated Sean Porter, I believe by unanimous decision. He just came back from getting stabbed last month and to beat JoJo Dan, his mandatory. I believe it was a 4th or 5th round TKO KO victory. He looked impressive. He's been calling out Amir Khan constantly. He's been making concessions. Amir Khan said, let's make the fight for, I guess the winner gets all the purse. Kell Brook agreed to that. Still, it wasn't good enough for Amir Khan. Amir Khan said, you know what, I'm not going to fight in June. I'm fighting May 30th. And guess what? Kell Brook is fighting May 30th. The day after Amir Khan would have been fighting or will be fighting Chris Algieri. You can't tell me that if Amir Khan really wanted to fight with Floyd Mayweather, he wouldn't have took the fight with Kell Brook. Especially Kell Brook. Adrien Broner is a junior welterweight now, even though he probably would have came up and made a catch weight with Amir Khan. He brings a name and he brings that connection with Floyd Mayweather, but he doesn't bring a title like Kell Brook does. Kell Brook is the IBF welterweight champion. Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao will be fighting in 10 days, May 2nd, in Las Vegas, Nevada, in a unification bout. Floyd Mayweather is the WBC and WBA welterweight champion, as well as the Ring Magazine welterweight champion. Manny Pacquiao is the WBO welterweight champion. And if Kell Brook and Amir Khan were to face each other, the winner of that fight would have been the most logical choice for either Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather, whoever wins the May 2nd fight that's coming up, to unify the whole division. Meaning, Amir Khan would have had everything he needed in his corner to finally get Floyd Mayweather to say, yes, you will be fighting me in September in Las Vegas, Dallas, Wembley in the UK, or wherever the fight may have taken. But no, Amir Khan wants to go the path of the least resistant, and that's face Chris Algieri, a guy who he should outclass, instead of taking on Adrien Broner or Kell Brook, in which he would have made a lot of money. Eddie Hearn and Kell Brook have been riding him, calling him out, saying this is the biggest payday you'll ever get. is in front of your hometown people. Y'all bitter rivals. Y'all fill up Wembley Stadium. I think it's 50,000 people. Maybe you would have had to get it seats built in to accommodate more guests, more fans that would been coming to this fight. But no, Amir Khan decides to take on Chris Algieri. Whether that's on the advice of Al Heyman or he got a deal with Floyd, assuming that Floyd gets by Manny Pacquiao, that he will face Amir Khan. I just don't see that happening. I just don't see it happening. Amir Khan, he's a big draw. He's a big name. He's a talented guy. But the IBF title, in my opinion, would have been everything that he needed on his side to get Mayweather to agree. Because he's a draw. He was going to bring a lot of the British people over to the States if the fight would have taken place in the States, a la Ricky Hatton did when he fought Mayweather back in December of 2007. But no, he didn't do that. And now he's going to be fighting Chris Algieri May 29th on Spike TV in the main event. And I believe that he ultimately will end his career without facing Floyd Mayweather. Manny Pacquiao, on the other hand, another terrific fight. And that's a fight that's more likely to happen than, a fight with Floyd Mayweather. But that's pretty much all I have to say about Amir Khan. Amir Khan, blatantly ducked Kell Brook. And to a degree, he ducked Adrien Broner. I don't care what people say about he would have smoked Adrien Broner. Maybe so. But we don't know that until you get in the ring and fight him. Adrien Broner's no easy out for nobody. And we know the threat that Kell Brook possesses. He's naturally bigger than Amir Khan. He's powerful. He has good boxing skills. And that's a threat to Amir Khan because he's doing anything and everything in his power to secure a fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr. And his continuity to backfire in his face is like he's getting bad advice. I know Al Heyman is going to get you paid, but at some point, these fighters got to realize money is just one part of the equation of your legacy. You got to be willing to fight any and everybody, beat those guys to secure your legacy as one of the greatest fighters ever. But a lot of these fighters are missing that. So, those are my thoughts on Amir Khan ducking Kell Brook and Adrien Broner. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to Colossal Boxing Talk, head over to Facebook, like our Colossal Boxing Talk page, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Colossal CBT. And until next time I'm out, peace.